Hi YouTube, it's Josh Harm again with the Harmful Finance channel, talking to you today about the retirement waterfall. This is a tool and sequence of how to use your money to best position you for retirement. If you follow these steps, not only will you be ahead of most of the pack, you'll be well on your way to your financial goals whenever retirement occurs for you and your family. So here are the 6 steps that you should follow if you want to retire with significant wealth. It doesn't matter where you are at in these steps, how much money you make, or how far you get by what age. It just matters you create a plan and attempt to enact these steps. It most certainly will not be simple, and you will have setbacks along the road. Additionally, it might be more difficult to get to some of these later waterfall steps without a significant income relative to debt, but it is still something to strive toward. This is one of the optimal ways to create wealth. All right, so the first step in the retirement waterfall is to enact an emergency fund. This should be the primary goal. I almost intend on providing this point in every video I do. An emergency fund is tantamount to your retirement because, as everybody knows, life does happen. It's beneficial to get at least 3 to 6 months of expenses in highly liquid situations, such as a cash savings account to tide you and your family over in rare circumstances such as job loss or significant need for home repair, as an example. The second step in the retirement waterfall, after you have set up the emergency fund in the previous step up to that 3 to 6 month of expenses, is to act upon a 401k match that your company provides. If your company does not provide a 401k match, or you work for yourself, for example, it is totally okay to move on to the next step, as this is obviously not applicable to you. But the important piece I want to stress here is not to completely max out your 401k contributions at this step in the waterfall, but only provide contributions up to the 401k match that your company provides. Meaning if your company provides a 6% match, only contribute the 6% at this stage and move on to the next step. A complete maxed contribution to your 401k will occur at a later stage in the waterfall, so do not be alarmed. I'll explain why here in the next step. All right, so number 3, the third step in the waterfall is an interesting one because there is some nuance here. After we've completed our 401k match, we can now begin tackling our liabilities that are of the higher interest variety. We want to gain that free money that is provided as a match, but we also want to make sure that we are not drowning in debt such that we aren't able to invest and make returns without hitting our emergency savings frequently. I anticipate most people will be in this step a proportionate amount of their lives, as many have ascertained student loan debt, been in tight situations and have used credit cards or similar. High interest debt needs to be considered a burning platform and needs to be taken out with the utmost severity after an emergency savings has been established. The definition of high interest debt can be variable from person to person, but I would suggest things like your car and home are not considered high interest, as these are often the 2 to 5% interest rate bracket. Credit cards, payday loans, or any other consumer debt that is greater than maybe 7 or 8% is something I would consider tackling at this stage in the retirement waterfall. Once we have completed this stage and are no longer in what many describe as consumer debt, we can move on to the stage where we are starting to begin building wealth. All right, the 4th step in the retirement waterfall is to contribute to a Roth IRA up to $6,000 or $7,000 if you are over the age of 50. The government does this to help older folk catch up with retirement contributions. So a Roth IRA or individual retirement account should be considered your primary investment vehicle after you have completed debt, as long as you make less than $144,000 as of 2022. The most important reason for this is because all of the gains are shielded from future taxes, as you are making investments with already after-tax income, such as your primary job or W-2 income. Meaning earnings in your account grow tax-free, and there are no taxes on qualified distributions. I will create a future video highlighting the difference between a Roth and traditional IRA, but ultimately it comes down to tax advantages. Additional benefits a Roth IRA provides is it allows you to pull out any contributions you put in at any time. That's a very important distinction that you should consider. So just make sure this is not the earnings on the account, but only the contributions to the account. Another benefit is to allow you to invest in the stock market to grow your account. And then a final benefit is to allow you to take advantage of growing your investments tax-free. If you have made it this far into the retirement waterfall, truly you are succeeding quite well and have a high income and or have tackled debt with tenacity. This is commendable and will allow you to further your retirement goals by lowering your taxable income. This is what a 401k does, as well as gain retirement income for you to retire comfortably. So at this point, you can now begin to step into number 5, which is to max out 401k contributions. Contributions to a traditional 401k are taken directly out of your paycheck before federal income taxes are withheld. Because the contributions are pre-tax, it lowers your total taxable income, which means you might owe less in income taxes, regardless of whether you itemize or take the standard deduction. The reason why this is not as accessible as a Roth, and should be considered after a Roth IRA, is because you cannot touch this account without severe penalties until age 59 and a half. It has required minimum distributions in your early 70s and is subject to certain tax disadvantages upon retrieval if you don't have access to a Roth 401k. I will not discuss the differences between a Roth 401k and a traditional 401k at this point, but understand ultimately they are differences in tax. A 401k does have certain capabilities to retrieve the income without penalty, but these are few and far between. 401ks loans are a possibility where you can take a loan from essentially yourself and pay yourself back with stipulations, but this can be ill-advised in a market that is up because the interest you pay yourself back can be much lower than what the market is providing in returns. Also, you're only allowed to take out $50,000 or 50% of the asset, whichever is less at the time of distribution of the loan. The final step in the retirement waterfall is after-tax or tax-disadvantaged retirement accounts. So once you have maximized all of your tax-advantaged retirement accounts, such as a Roth IRA or a 401k, you can now begin saving with tax-disadvantaged accounts. Additionally, this is a sort of catch-all step for any investment that is not considered tax-advantaged. If you are truly at this step, you can consider such investments as cryptocurrency, real estate, or even riskier situations, as you are already maxing out other safe bets and can take more risk to potentially retire early. This step can be considered earlier if you are on a financially independent retire early track. I will discuss this in a future video, but ultimately the goal of this step is to now take more risk in your portfolio, in my opinion, in Josh's opinion, as you have proven to yourself that you are financially secure by completing the previous steps in the retirement waterfall. Feel free to determine what asset class makes most sense to you to invest in. It could be what you're interested in or what you are most knowledgeable on. But also begin considering speaking with a CPA or a certified public accountant during this step for some tax situations, because you can now shield some of this income as business expenses. You can consider making an LLC or similar business and begin deducting expenses associated with running a business if your tax disadvantaged accounts are beginning to earn some significant income, such as dividends or realized gains. Finally, only realized gains or newly created income is taxed. So if you do not shield your income in this stage with tax strategies that a CPA can provide, you may be hit with some income burdens that you are unaware or confused on. Hey, this is Josh Harm once again. Thank you so much for sticking around. If you are able to enact these steps outlined in this video in successful succession, you will be set up for creating significant wealth and will have the opportunity to cater to your desires as you reach toward retirement. Please let me know if you have any comments or suggestions. Thank you again and have a great day. Bye-bye.